sports fans, welcome to Super Sports Central. Today we have Sports News episode 63. So we'll be covering the four major sports, plus college football and college basketball. Diving right in, starting off with the NBA. Hawks' DeAndre Hunter will be out 2 months with a wrist injury. Portland Trailblazers star guard Damian Lillard is day-to-day with an abdominal injury. Magic rookie Jalen Suggs has an ankle sprain and is considered day-to-day. And Cavaliers rookie Evan Mobley is out 2 to 4 weeks with an elbow sprain. So the best teams in the NBA are the Warriors, they're 11-2, the Wizards 10-3, and the Suns, who also have a 10-3 record. The worst teams in the NBA are the Magic, they're 3-11, the Pelicans 2-13, and the Rockets 1-13. Next, going over to the NHL, the Senators have postponed 3 games due to a COVID-19 outbreak within the organization. They have 10 players in the COVID protocols, and the 3 games they postponed were against the Devils, Rangers, and Predators. Alex Ovechkin moves into 4th place, now solo 4th place position on the all-time goals scored list. He passed Brett Hull for 4th place. The best teams are the Panthers 10-2-3, the Hurricanes 11-2-0, and the Oilers 11-3-0. The worst teams in the NHL are the Senators 4-10-1, the Kraken 4-10-1, and the Coyotes 1-13-1. Over to the MLB. So the Rookie of the Year awards and the Manager of the Year awards have been announced. So the AL Rookie of the Year was Randy Arozarena, the NL Rookie of the Year was Jonathan India, and the AL Manager of the Year actually came from the same team as the AL Rookie of the Year, Kevin Cash of the Rays, and the NL Manager of the Year, Dave Kapler of the Giants. The Yankees hired former Mets manager Luis Rojas as their new third base coach. Tigers and left-handed pitcher Eduardo Rodriguez agreed to a 5-year, $77 million contract. The Brewers traded for infielder Mike Brassell from the Rays. Blue Jays and starting pitcher Jose Barrios agreed to a 7-year, $131 million contract extension. The Blue Jays traded for Barrios at the trade deadline this season. And free agent starting pitcher Noah Syndergaard signs with the Angels on a 1-year deal worth $21 million. And that is going to definitely help out an Angels rotation that is pretty thin. They can definitely use all the rotation help they can get. Now adding Syndergaard to the rotation that already has Ohtani, it's going to be a good 1-2 punch for the Angels. Now they just need to fill in the rest of it. Let's go over to the NFL. Washington football team Chase Young will miss the remainder of the season with a torn ACL. Steelers' TJ Watt avoided a major injury. He has a hip and knee injury, but thankfully for the Steelers, it's not a serious one. Packers running back Aaron Jones has a mild MCL sprain and will miss 1 to 2 weeks. A.J. Dillon is expected to take on the lead role that Jones had. Washington football team quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick is unlikely to return this season with a hip injury he suffered in Week 1. Rams wide receiver Robert Woods tore his ACL in practice on Friday. However, luckily for the Rams, they had just signed Odell Beckham Jr. a few days earlier. The Titans placed Julio Jones on the injured reserve with a hamstring injury. Chargers defensive linemen Joey Bosa and Jerry Tillery have both been placed in the COVID protocols. They also have linebacker Drew Tranquill in the COVID protocols. Russell Wilson was shut out for the first time in his NFL career with the Seahawks' 17-0 loss to the Packers. The Ravens released veteran running back Le'Veon Bell after 5 games with the franchise. 49ers rookie running back Elijah Mitchell has a broken finger, and his status for next week is uncertain after having a pin inserted into the finger. Another status uncertain for next week, the Lions' Jared Goff his status is unknown for next week with an oblique injury he suffered against the Steelers. Let's go to college football. Notre Dame's star safety Kyle Hamilton will miss the remainder of the regular season with a knee injury. He has a chance to play in whatever bowl game Notre Dame makes it to. Another player out for the remainder of the season, Auburn quarterback Bo Nix, will miss the remainder of the regular season with an ankle injury he will have surgery on. And the last injury, Texas star running back Bijan Robinson is out for the remainder of the season with a dislocated elbow. We had a massive upset this week between unranked teams. Kansas upset Texas. So earlier in the season, Kansas got their first win. And yes, I'm talking about football. They got their first win since 2019, and now they just beat a big-name program like Texas. That's a massive win for Kansas. So Texas was down big. They came back to force overtime. They scored a touchdown in overtime, giving them the 56-49 lead. Then Kansas scored, and they rolled the dice and went for two, but they got it, so that made Texas lose the game by a final score of 57-56. Mississippi State upset Auburn 43-34. Auburn lost Bo Nix in the game to an injury, as I mentioned before. Will Rogers stepped up for Mississippi State, throwing for 415 yards and 6 touchdowns with no interceptions. So Auburn actually blew a 28-3 lead in the game, and it feels like every week I'm talking about how Will Rogers puts Mississippi State in a place to win, and he did it again with 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. Wake Forest beat North Carolina State 45-42. Ole Miss beat Texas A&M 29-19. Matt Corral had a great game. He went 24 of 37 for 247 yards and a touchdown. And Ole Miss had a key pick six to seal the game off Texas A&M quarterback Zach Calzada. Michigan escapes Penn State 21-17. Michigan quarterback Cade McNamara connected with tight end Eric All for the game-winning score. And Michigan running back Hassan Haskins had an outstanding game, 31 rushes for 156 yards. Baylor upset Oklahoma 27-24. Baylor quarterback Jerry Bohannon had a great game through the air and on the ground. Through the air, he was 12 of 21 for 117 yards, a touchdown and a pick. And on the ground, he had 7 carries for 107 yards and 2 scores. Ohio State dominated against Purdue 59-31 behind a strong showing from Heisman contender C.J. Stroud. The Heisman contender went 31 of 38 for 361 yards and 5 touchdowns with no interceptions. Ohio State wide receiver Garrett Wilson had a tremendous game, 10 catches for 126 yards and 3 touchdowns. Alabama destroyed New Mexico State 59-3. Bryce Young he completed 21 of his 23 pass attempts for 270 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Georgia dominates against another opponent. They beat Tennessee 41-17. And 17 points was the most any team has scored against Georgia this season. But still, that's nothing when you're dominating, putting up 35-plus points a game. And college basketball, so we're going to be doing a weekly college basketball recap just from notable scores and stats from the week. So last Tuesday, the season kicked off. Kansas beat Michigan State in the Champions Classic. And in the other game of the Champions Classic, Duke beat Kentucky. And behind a strong game from standout freshman Paolo Banchero, he had 22 points and 7 rebounds in the win. UCLA beat Villanova 86-77 in a OT overtime classic at Pauley Pavilion. Gonzaga dominated Texas 86-74 behind a career-high 37 points from Drew Timme. And our first notable upset of the season, Marquette upset Illinois 67-66. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And I will see you for my NFL recap, my NFL Week 10 recap.